Is the BLU View 2 still good in 2021? Well, in this video, we're gonna find out. What's going on, guys? Khalipa's Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, we're gonna be taking a look at the BLU View 2 and going over what kind of value it provides in 2021. Let's get into it. So this phone has a 5.5-inch LCD display with a resolution of 720p, a PPI of 293, and an aspect ratio of 18:9. We got the front-facing camera right here on this bezel, and this camera is 8 megapixels. Right now, I do have the brightness set at 100%, and I would say it does look pretty decent. To me, the display does feel a little bit smaller. If you're trying to do a lot of video streaming, or if you're playing games or something like that where you would really benefit from seeing details, this is probably not going to be an ideal size for you. Content consumption, especially stuff like video streaming and reading, pretty much any situation where you need to look at words, having a smaller display is going to be a bit of a hindrance. And at 5.5 inches, I would say this display, by today's standards for sure, is on the smaller side. I would think something like 6.5 inches or even 6 inches would be better. But that being said, if you're not doing content consumption, if you're not constantly streaming videos or reading or anything like that, then it's still going to be fine. As far as the resolution and all that goes, for a 720p display, this looks just about average. I wouldn't say it's anything special. It's not going to have crazy good colors or anything like that, but at the same time, it's really not bad. The back of the phone has this matte material that feels nice to hold in your hand and doesn't pick up fingerprints too badly. Overall, the phone is really comfortable to hold and carry in your pocket, so despite having a smaller display, this could be a benefit if you don't like carrying a large phone around all the time. This phone has 32 gigabytes of internal storage with microSD card expansion, so that's really not bad at all, especially for this price range. Usually entry-level phones like this only have 16 gigabytes of internal storage, and it's really hit or miss whether or not they have microSD card expansion. With this phone, you can add a microSD card up to 128 gigabytes. So if you have lots of photos and videos or something like that you can put on a microSD card, then this is really going to be a big benefit for you. There's no wireless charging on this phone, which is pretty expected, but there's also no fingerprint scanner or face unlock, which is a big disappointment because having those features makes it so much more convenient to unlock your phone and a lot faster too. If you're trying to use your phone when you're in the middle of something, typing in a PIN or even worse, a password is just not convenient at all. In these days, face unlock and fingerprint scanners are really becoming the industry standard, and it's more of an expectation that pretty much any smartphone in 2021 is going to have one. So when a phone doesn't have either of those features, it's an automatic drawback. This phone only has one 13 megapixel rear camera on the back, and that is going to be a disappointment to some people if you're a more frequent user of the camera and like all the nice features like portrait mode, a macro camera maybe, or an ultra wide camera. You are going to want to look at different devices because this phone has none of it. But that being said, it does actually take decent pictures with the rear camera. Take a look at this. This is a photo taken with the rear camera of the phone, and as you can see, it's really a decent photo. Sure, the lighting isn't the best. This phone was taken in broad daylight and it looks a little dim to me, but at the same time, for such a low-end phone, the quality otherwise is actually really good. The image is really sharp, and there's no haze or anything like that. And the colors, while not being the brightest, do look pretty decent for what it is. So if you're a more casual user of the camera, but still like to take the occasional nice picture here and there, this phone's actually gonna fit your needs just fine. For video, this phone can shoot in up to 1080p in both the rear and front cameras, but keep in mind, you can only view them in 720p on the actual device itself because that's the resolution of the display. Internally, this phone is getting 2 gigabytes of RAM with the MediaTek Helio A22 processor. I ran a Geekbench 5 benchmark test on the phone and it came back with a single core score of 144 and a multi-core score of 510, and for this phone's price range, this is actually not bad. It has about the level of processing power of the Samsung Galaxy A02, maybe even a little more if I can remember right. And that phone is about triple this phone's price. I think it's even more. So with that in mind, this phone is actually not a bad deal. If you're only planning on using your phone for basic activities like sending text messages, making calls, some light web browsing and social media use, then this phone is going to be perfectly fine for all of that. And in fact, it's also going to give you a better experience than a lot of phones in its own price range. Of course, this is not a high-end device by any means. It's super bare bones and featureless, and it's not really meant for any high performance activities like heavy mobile gaming or editing videos with large files or something like that that takes a lot of processing power. But at the same time, if you are looking for a device to do basic things with, even just basic content consumption like streaming YouTube videos, then this phone's gonna be perfectly fine. This phone has a 2,920 milliamp hour battery, and the battery is actually removable, which I thought was interesting because in 2021, you don't see a smartphone with a removable battery every day. To remove the battery, all you need to do is pop this little tab right here on the edge, and then you're going to be able to detach the back from the phone, and the battery is right here. You can also put the micro SD card right in here as well if you want to use one. So overall, it is a pretty interesting design considering that it's not very common anymore. But as far as the size of the battery goes, I'm not too impressed. This is barely bigger than the iPhone 12's battery, which is a really small battery. So you'll get okay battery life throughout the day. You might have to charge it a little earlier than most phones. But that being said, if you have a more mobile lifestyle where you can't be charging your phone all day, but also have to use it a lot, then you're probably gonna be inconvenienced by this because this battery will wear out a lot faster if you're using it heavily. So in conclusion, is the BLU View 2 worth buying in 2021? Despite being really featureless and having lots of qualities that make it really feel like a cheap low-end phone, it's still somewhat worth buying in 2021. This phone has a lot more storage than most other phones in its price range with 32 gigabytes. For the average user, that's going to be a perfect amount, and the micro SD card expansion helps with that as well. The camera is actually pretty good for what it is, and if you're not looking for features like portrait mode, an ultra wide camera, or a macro camera, and you're not too concerned with video quality, then this phone's camera setup should be perfectly fine to fit your needs. The processor is another impressive point of this phone. While it's not anything close to high end, and you're not going to be able to do activities like high performance gaming or anything like that, and even heavy use of stuff like social media and web browsing is probably going to be a bit slow with this phone. Compared to other phones in its same price range, the processor of this phone is actually decently strong. Overall, although it does feel like what it is, an extremely affordable low-end smartphone, the BLU View 2 does have some decent features that provide a good amount of value in 2021. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And as always, I will see you in the next video.